Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we have a very familiar face in our community joining us. You've heard her on the podcast before. I'm so excited to welcome back my friend Lyrik Fryer, the co-founder and CEO of Workplay Branding, a tech-enabled content platform helping brands create the media assets they need to fuel their marketing on repeat. Through Workplay, Lyrik has helped hundreds of companies and entrepreneurs produce high-quality photo and video content designed to support launches, campaigns, social media, websites, paid ads, and ongoing brand visibility. Featured in Business Insider for its innovative business model, which you'll get to hear a slice of today with how they're utilizing licensing in a really creative way in their business. Workplay has now grown into an international company operating across the US, Canada, Australia, and Europe. Dang, so impressive. And by the way, Lyrik is under 30 years old, you guys. Like when I met you, I was floored by just your drive, your ambition, and how dialed in you are to like the vision and the innovation. So anyways, I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am milking my last kind of 6 months of my 20s. So thank you for that.
Hey, take every bit that you can. It's such a special decade, but I will say I genuinely do love my 30s so far. So I know you will thrive even more. And at the time of this recording, Lyrik is about to be married in like 2 weeks' time. So congratulations. We're so happy for you. Let's get into this piece because we're right now doing a series on the podcast on IP and how entrepreneurs are utilizing the IP in their businesses in creative ways. And for you, you have actually found a way to license your systems, the way that you guys approach content creation as a company to other agencies as well as to authors for book launches. So we're going to talk about both, but maybe first, just to give our listeners a layer of context, can you share with us like what is the Workplay method? Like what makes it unique or different from working with, any other brand photographer or videographer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to how we're different, I think it's how we look at the whole content creation process and workflow that businesses are doing. And we look at it from a workflow perspective, not just this one-off service that you might hire a brand photographer for. So just that perspective changes things. And so what makes us different is the fact that we think that you should be creating content consistently, and we also believe that you shouldn't be charged thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every single time you want to create content. So that is where the Workplay method was born, where you can plan your content with us, create it in basically any English-speaking city or country in the world, and then also launch that content on things like social, your website, landing pages, ads. So we wanted to really create a whole ecosystem of that content creation workflow and make it very easy for people. At the time of this recording, we're actually about to launch our tech platform, which will allow you to book any of our creators on demand in a credit system. So, historically, Workplay has been in a quarterly shoot model, and that's what a lot of people know us for, but we're actually going into a credit system. So you'll have X amount of credits to use throughout the year for any kind of content type, from photo, video to iPhone content, and you'll get to use them on your own terms wherever you want in the world on our platform. So we're constantly pushing the boundary of what is possible with an content team or an in-house marketing team.
I am obsessed with the Workplay method and especially excited for the launch of your platform because it really does marry the best of convenience with full flexibility and creative control. Like I love that you're not limited to just like, oh, we do headshots or like we do, web imagery. It's truly like, for example, Workplay has done brand shoots for us that we've used on our sales pages. They've done video creation assets that we've utilized in a billboard campaign. And then more recently, like we hosted an event in the fall and, we needed video and photo coverage for the event, and Workplay was able to bring in, again, local creators within their network that we were able to book for that. So it's just absolutely incredible, I think, what you've built. And so I understand why there's such an appeal for agencies to be able to utilize a similar model. model. I'm curious, how did the conversation to start licensing this system come about? Like, what was the, I guess, like the trigger for that? And did you ever have any concern about, okay, if we license this to other agencies, like, are we giving away our secret sauce or like our best thing that makes us different? I'm just kind of curious how you navigated that as a founder.
Okay, so this is a loaded question. I have different different answers for different parts of this question. So the whole process, 497 a month to get all of this in-house content creation. We were seeing agencies come in, pay the 497 a month because it was so accessible and cheap for them, and have their clients come through the process. That when that was happening, that was actually stealing our IP. So it was already happening.
Mm,
And for us, we didn't look at it like, oh my gosh, no, you can't do that. We're very much a yes people. We wanted to find a way, and at the time I didn't understand what IP was, but we wanted to find a way where we could make this work for those agencies to be able to allow their clients to do that. We just didn't understand the structure just yet at that time, but we saw it happening. So a lot of the innovation that we have in our company is when something gets put on our doorstep and we're like, should we do this or should we allow this to happen? How can we allow this to happen? Like our customers clearly want this. We saw the demand, right? It was there
right.
already happening in our process. So that was trigger one. And then to answer the question around like this fear around people taking our systems or stealing our systems, we actually have a mutual friend, Haley Burkhead. I think that's how I originally met you,
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes. Years ago.
Yes, she was my first and only business coach. Love her, love her, love her. And I remember being so scared to create a webinar for workplay branding because I thought like, oh, we put it out there and we show people that we do all of this for 497 and we show our method and how we do it and what happens inside. I thought people were going to take it. And so I was telling her this fear when she was my coach and she was like, what? She was like, do you want to make money or not? You know?
Such a
And
Haley reaction.
yes. And I was like, well, I mean, I want to make money, but what if people copy? And she was like, but you're a better entrepreneur than the people who are going to copy you or steal from you. You're already going to be 2 steps ahead of them. You created this. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And we put out the webinar and no one copied it. Everyone thought it was the most insane thing and they wanted it. And so that shifted my entire perspective very early on that you have to be playing offense, not defense when it comes to business.
100%. That's actually one of my favorite Haley-isms, if you will, like playing offense, not defense in the business. I remember her saying that to me years ago and it stuck with me too. So I'm really, really glad that you brought up that mindset work that you kind of had to do around this. And when you actually decided, okay, so we want to do this, we want to structure this as like a standardized offer that agencies can license this from us, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, the idea behind this or the concept is that agencies are servicing clients that need content and they are licensing this model from you so that they can build content creation into some of their larger service or marketing packages. And then your team is doing the fulfillment of the service. Am I understanding that correctly or am I off somewhere?
Correct. That's correct. And a lot of people confuse this with white label. Now, I want to unpack this because it's not a white label because we actually require them to say this content shoot or this content was powered by Workplay Branding. So for us, it's also a brand strategy and a distribution strategy to get that brand out there. And it's actually more legal to do that when you are licensing your IP out. People need to know that that's yours so that your IP becomes more valuable. And this has all sorts of effects when you want to go sell your business as well.
Brilliant. So help us understand because basically, like you said, the trigger or the impetus for why you even thought about doing this in the first place was there were agencies that were essentially buying your $497 a month service as if they were the end user, but they were essentially giving it to their clients to utilize for content creation. So then you stepped in and said, no, we actually have to formalize this through a licensing deal. Can you explain to us the difference and how that actually looks from an execution perspective? Because in my brain, I'm like, isn't it kind of the same thing, right? Like it's still being used by their end client. So help us distinguish what are the differences now that it's actually packaged up as like a licensing deal. Can you walk us through the structure of that?
Totally. Well, we had to somehow convince these licensees to stop going through our process and go through a licensing way. And I always think of this in terms of sales and how do we make this no brainer for the person that we're selling to? And so for me, I was thinking about how hard it must be to have to actually purchase a year-long membership for their one client that they then have to take through, and they have to kind of like sidestep us and our team. And I was like, that must be really hard to do. Why don't we just allow you to pick and choose when you want to do these shoots, not give you a commitment time, and then you get to just customize the work play experience to your clients. And then, of course, it's like a no brainer for them to do that. And
Right.
it also keeps it very competitive. So some people might say, like, oh, well, why would someone go with me and do the workplay process with me versus just going and signing up on your website? And the truth is because we have created a container that only deals with the media, and we don't deal with any of the extra support, like any kind of like website designing or logo creation. Like we don't do any of that, but our licensees do. So now they're able to create an experience around our process for their client that is specific to the problem that they're solving. And because content amplifies so many parts of marketing, it works. And so when one of their clients sees that they have a powered by workplay branding shoot included in their process, and they've already heard about workplay branding over here, it now becomes a huge value add that you not only get workplay branding, but then you also get this other service provider helping you through an entire experience. And so it almost like they anchor each other, and we do that by design.
I love that because to your point, like you can create the best content in the world, but if you don't implement it correctly, if you don't distribute it or utilize it, then what's the point? It just sits in a folder on your computer, right? So I think that makes complete sense what you're saying. Like you stay in your lane, you're like the best in class at the media creation, and then you let your partners handle how that content is utilized in their client's broader world. Okay, pretend like I am an agency partner coming to you and saying, okay, I want to do this licensing deal with you. How do I actually, like financially, how is that purchased? If the experiences are kind of like a la carte and you're not tying them necessarily to a contract or a minimum, like how do you financially set it up? Is it they can choose from like different packages where each package includes like X number of shoots, X number of deliverables, or like how do the nuts and bolts actually look within the structure?
Yeah, totally. So it varies. It depends on what they're needing. Since we're moving into a credit system, we have even more flexibility on how much time and what type of creators we can deploy. And so these licensing deals tend to look very custom per person. So we look at how much time does each of their clients actually need. This is going to determine how many credits they're going to need. And then we determine how many clients they're actually going to need to be servicing. And again, I like when it's a no-brainer offer. I have this kind of philosophy of being very flexible
Mhm.
in these sorts of situations to get what we want. But we look at everything that they're needing and we create the licensing deal around that. Now, we have our minimums in terms of what it needs to be priced at, of course. But then that allows us to be profitable for every single licensing deal, whether it's super small, like a maybe it only has generated 4K in revenue for us, or a 50K licensing deal. But it
And
doesn't matter to me because I've already figured out those margins ahead of time. And I know going into the negotiations how much we need to charge per hour, I guess you could say. And then it's just about being very creative. It's like, okay, well, you've got 20 clients right now who need this. Now it's going to be this. You would price it at this. You really have to build it for them so they can see the full process. I've found that this is such a unique way of doing business that a lot of our licensees have never done this before. They've never included someone else's service inside of their service before. So we have to really show them the pathway of how their clients are going to go from them to us to back to them again, and show them, give them an actual blueprint path. And then usually from there, it makes a lot of sense for them to go forward because, again, there's no commitment. When they
Right.
make, then we make money. So it's in my best interest to make sure they make sales and money through the offer that we're building with them.
That makes sense. So basically, you're getting paid by the agency partner alone, like their end client has no financial contract with you. From a financial perspective, when you were working on pricing out your licensing offers, is it set up so that the licensees, like the agency partners, are they basically getting the credits at a better deal than the quote unquote retail price that, like, if I as like an individual decided to sign up as a client of WorkPlay, I'm assuming I'm paying a higher premium for those credits than the licensees are paying for bulk license of those credits. Is that correct, or is my assumption wrong?
Yeah, no, so it's interesting. You would assume that, but we actually don't have to do that because so they purchase it at retail price. The only difference is that they have no commitment. So we actually make sure our members commit to us for 12 months. And that alone allows us to charge the licensee at retail price point because they don't have a commitment to us.
Mm.
And so we're able to negotiate that without losing our margin. I mean, to be honest, they're already getting it at a steal. Our members get this type of content at a steal. It's part of our mission to make this type of content accessible, but we have to make sure we keep that margin. And so how do we keep that margin in our leverage? It's through that 12-month commitment versus not having that commitment with licensees.
Oh, that's so brilliant. Okay. I'm so happy that my assumption was wrong and that you shared this whole thing, because I think this is like a key takeaway for anyone listening in. Price is not your only negotiation lever. I'm curious, from a revenue perspective, how has this licensing play impacted your business? How has it grown your business, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So before the licensing, we just had our monthly membership and year-long commitment. I love the business model. It's $497 a month. The revenue that comes in is extremely predictable. We only have to focus on a few numbers and tweak a few numbers to hit goals. And that felt so safe when we first transitioned into that model in 2021. With licensing, it was so interesting because for us, they're like mini cash injections to our membership. Because we don't have that commitment, we can't necessarily predict. Like, we can partner with people who have recurring clients and that can help with the predictability, but you can't really predict when these licensing deals are going to come in and how big they're going to be. So, I would say when we first started, I mean, it was going like crazy because when someone else sells something, you then get a purchase coming in for you.
Yeah.
And so the whole model is just mind blowing to me. So it would go from like 10K months of like cash injection. And these would be different licensees or licensing deals coming through, giving us little mini cash injection bumps. And then the one that changed the game was
To hear the rest of this episode and unlock weekly subscriber-only content and community access, join us as a premium subscriber at cubicletoceo.co/podcast. The link is below in our show notes.